All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for our evening class on mastering the Command and DocuSign workflow. After this class, you should all have a lot more comfortability navigating Command through our contacts and our opportunities to get into DocuSign. This is going to help to make our lives so much easier when it comes to acquiring all of the paperwork, getting everything filled out, and then ultimately bringing it back into Command when it comes to a compliance review. So I'm going to walk you through this whole process. If you guys have questions, go ahead and pop them in the chat. And if you have any other Command questions, we can certainly address them at the end. But let's go ahead and get started. So before I dive into the actual tutorial, I wanted to bring up this little graphic again for everyone. And I'll send this out along with the recording of the video. But this is the 5 steps that we need to remember to really master the Command and DocuSign workflow. Doesn't seem like it's a lot, and it's not. If you haven't done it before, it can be a little bit overwhelming, just like everything that's brand new to us. But by navigating this specific workflow and following this order, it's just going to set yourself up for success in the long run. So let's dive right in and let's go through this 5-step workflow. So above all else, the first thing that we want to do whenever we're starting to begin paperwork in DocuSign is add the client as a contact into Command. It seems very basic and in a way doesn't relate to DocuSign, but we need to get our client as a contact in Command before we can start doing anything else. So get into the habit of adding someone into your database whenever you meet them, whenever the opportunity arises, whether you are first working with someone, you meet someone and they say, Edith, I like you, I just don't know if I'm ready to buy or sell my house. Or maybe they sell, Sokol, you're a great guy. I don't know if this is for me. If you manage to get their information, put them in Command. That way they'll be in your database. You can begin to market towards them. And you'll already have step 1 complete. So let's go into Command. I am going to go into my contacts applet. And the very first thing that I'm going to do is, of course, add my contact in. So I'm going to click on this Add a Contact button on the side. And then I'm going to add in my person. And today I'm going to use Aaron Judge. He's been crushing it with the Yankees lately. I was watching them all weekend long. So after you put in their name, email, and phone number, those are, of course, the 3 most important pieces that you want to plug in. But you also do want to pay attention to some of these other things here. Selecting your lead source type. This will help you keep track of where a lot of your leads are coming from. So we can actually filter down our dashboard to see where our leads are coming from. And it's a great way for us to assess our business. Marking the lead. Marking your contact as a lead or not allows us to keep our leads separate from the rest of our sphere. So that makes it a lot easier when we really want to target our clients or people who we are trying to turn into clients and not bugging our friends and family too much. And then we have tags. So you can assign multiple tags to a contact, and you can think of them kind of like keywords or groupings. So you can have tags that are created for the type of client this person may be, whether they're a buyer, a seller, a renter, etc. As you can see, you can have tags that are created for different years. You can have tags created for price ranges, pre-approvals, areas that someone's looking for, the type of client they are. Any information that you want to try to keep track of and utilize, you can turn it into a tag. All you need to do is just type in whatever you want your tag to be named, click on Create Custom Tag, and select your color. So a nice little tip is to use these as a means of color coding your tags. So maybe all the red tags are going to be the type of client, all the yellow tags will be the price, etc. Completely up to you. One other thing to mention with tags is that it really is key to create a tag for every open house that you're involved with. You're going to be meeting a lot of people at your open houses. So by creating that tag, you can then tag everyone who visited that open house, and then you'll have a your list of everyone who attended that open house easily available, whether you want to send a follow-up, let everyone know that a new property is available, etc. So once we plug in all of this information here, we click on create, and this will then create our contact for us. Now, sometimes if you click create and the contact doesn't show up, you just need to give the page a little refresh and it will then pop up for us. So here we go. I've got Aaron Judge. I'm going to click on his name, and now I'm being brought into the contact card. Now I want to show you guys something really quickly that I didn't even plan on doing, but talking about tags. If you didn't know, you can assign a tag to a smart plan. And that way you have your smart plan set up and ready to go. And the smart plan is combinations of different emails, text messages, things like that. So I have a post-closing smart plan, just an example, and I attached the 2022 buyer tag to that plan. So as you all just witnessed, I created this contact for Aaron Judge, brand new. I gave him that tag, and right away after I made my contact, it says that I have subscribed him to this smart plan. So just an example of how you can set yourself up for success by creating these smart plans ahead of time and attaching different tags. And then when you add someone in your database, you attach the tag, they're automatically put on that smart plan. So that's great if you have a smart plan that's, maybe an introduction to yourself or some sort of nurturing, element with that client. That's another story for another class, but I'm always happy to answer any questions that you may have involving that. But I had to touch on that little point because it was just too good not to. So I'm back here in my contact card. If I reference our little cheat sheet, we see that I have successfully completed step number 1. And now step number 2 is going to be to create an opportunity. So I'm going to come back into my contact card, and I'm going to come over to the right-hand side and click on opportunities. From here, I click on create opportunity. Now, just to take another step back, there are multiple ways where we can create an opportunity. We can do this within the contact card or within the opportunities section itself. There's no difference. It's just wherever you happen to be, whatever your preference is. I personally like to create the opportunities directly from a contact card, simply because the client's name is already filled in for us. It's not that big of a difference, but it saves me 3 seconds and a little bit of a hassle. So this is the route that I prefer. Ultimately, it is up to you. It does not matter because the end result is always going to be the same. So now I'm going to answer a few other required spots, including the opportunity type. So since I gave him the buyer tag, I am going to make him a buyer. Once we plug in the opportunity type and the name, we see that the opportunity name fills in for us automatically. Now, if you're working with a seller and you know the property address that the listing is going to be, definitely go ahead and feel free to put that address in the opportunity name, just like that. Of course, if you're working with a buyer, you're not going to know that property address right off the get-go, so you can just leave it like this. Or if you have another way of setting up your opportunity names, by all means, whatever works best for you. A lot of these other elements here are going to be optional. One thing that you will see is going to be required is the commission rate. Now, again, even if you don't know what your commission rate will be, you can always put in a dummy number and change it later on. Optional to put in the budget. Why not? I'm going to make him, we're going to give him a $9 million budget since he's number 99. If I wanted to put in a time frame or an estimated close date, I can. It's not required. But you will see you have the opportunity to put this opportunity in the correct phase or stage. This is simply putting the opportunity in the right part of your pipeline. So if I'm met Aaron Judge and I really hope to do business with him, but he hasn't made a decision, he's going to be in the cultivate phase. If he says, I like what you have to say, I'd like to hear your presentation, I'd put him an appointment. If he says, yes, let's do it, I want to buy a house with you, let's go searching for homes tomorrow, that would be in the active phase. And all of the different phases have different stages. All of these can be customized as well in the opportunity area, and I can show you guys at the end. So for this example, I'm going to pretend I'm actively working with him and we're currently showing different properties. Once I click on create, we are now going to see that I have my opportunity here under the menu. And when I click on the name of the opportunity, it's going to bring me right into the heart of all the details. So if we go back to our little cheat sheet, we are done with step 2. We created our opportunity. Next up is going to be to select our checklist type. Steps 3 and 4 are definitely the easiest because they're literally just one click of a button. So if I come back into Command, oops, wrong window. There we go. So if I come back into Command and I'm in my opportunity, I'm able to see my opportunity name here. I have my client linked here. And here is where I can come in and add any additional information. So if I have the property address, any dates, I can plug them in here. I'm going to come over into documents. And this is where step number 3 comes in. This is really important because I know a lot of agents, when they come to the documents page, when they're new to this process, they'll come and click the start a transaction button right away. And we don't want to do that just yet because we want to select the checklist type first. All this means is we're coming over to this left-hand side and telling the system testing. Think that's working. Back on. Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate that. Thank you for all of the chat. If that happens again, flood the chat box again. That's how I'm going to be aware that the mic goes off. But thank you guys so much. All right. So where were we? So not only do these checklists let us know exactly what documents are done at what part of the deal, but this will also let you know what documents are going to be required as opposed to conditional or optional. So we're able to see all of those requirements here. You'll also notice that there is a DS icon next to most of the document names. And this little DS icon means DocuSign. So when we are ready to go into DocuSign, that is our step 4, which is to start a transaction. Again, it's just one click of a button. I click start a transaction right here. What this is going to do is create a room for me in DocuSign. Bear with me while this loads. And once we see that the room is created, we are going to notice that these documents populate for us automatically. So that is, again, the beauty of this DS icon, checking your, selecting your checklist type, starting the transaction. All of these different elements make it possible for us to ultimately end up in DocuSign with our client's information and any other information that we have and sync it up right into DocuSign. If I come over to the details section, I can then see any information that I've previously inputted will show up here. So I didn't put too much in this one, especially because it is a buyer. But as I'm scrolling down, so we can see all the different roles, transfer over. Well, ideally, our buyer's name and email should be here. I'm not sure why that didn't transfer over this time. That's interesting. Just try it once more. You will sometimes find that there's little hiccups like this. You know, sometimes information is supposed to be brought over, it may not be. And for those of you who frequently take classes with me, you know I always say, it's not a real tech class until a tech issue happens. So now it's a real class. All right, so let me just quickly check back here to see if that did come over. Here we go, now it went through. So right here you say, you see the contract amount is $9 million. Granted, that's what I put in my budget amount in Command. So depending on, again, what side of the deal you're on, maybe if you're on the listing side, it makes more sense to put the listing price there, not so much the budget amount, but you'll see how that information can carry over into DocuSign. Then if I continue to scroll down till we see the buyer one, now I see his name and his email. So if you had a secondary contact attached to this opportunity, their information would show up in buyer one and buyer two. At any point in time, we can always come in here and add more info. So I can always click on this edit button and then begin to add in anyone else's information. So let's say that we have a buyer two. I'm going to make it LeBron James. I don't even know if I'm spelling LeBron's name right because I'm stuck at a sports team for some reason. So I'm adding in LeBron James's information in my buyer two, and I'm going to click on save. And here automatically I'm listed as the buyer's agent since this is my deal. So when I come back over into the document section, again, we see all the forms here. Now, one thing to note is that even if a form is conditional or required, if it has this DS icon next to it, it will come over. So just make note of that, that sometimes you may find documents that are conditional and don't actually apply to your particular deal. And if they do end up in your room, you can always delete them or ignore them. Just want to take a quick second while we're back here, just to let you know, anytime you see this little I, this will tell you what this document is for and its use. So if you're ever questioning what the document is, you can hover over the I and it will tell you. You can also click on the underlined document name and it will show you the information that should be populated on the form. So you're able to see some quote unquote completed examples based on what information goes where. Now, I'm going to come back into DocuSign and I want to show you guys really how easy it is to use DocuSign. Just for full transparency, I myself am not a licensed real estate agent. I don't have an NRDS ID. I don't have access into the NJAR form, so I can't really show you a good example of how these forms look, but I can show you some of these here. So what I'm going to do is just show you how easy it is to transfer information over from one document to the rest. I'm going to click in our affiliated business disclosure. And right away, we're going to see that both of my buyers' names have been inputted. Definitely spelled LeBron's name wrong. Whoops, no one judged me. So I've got my two buyers here. My name automatically populates because I am the buyer's agent. And here we see some more boxes that are pre-populated and defined. So if I come in here and I start to plug in the property address, I then click on Save. And now, because I've inputted that information, the property address will roll over into any other form that requires that information. So again, because I'm kind of stuck on giving you guys real examples of the forms, I'll just show you in the CIS. At the bottom, here's where we have that property address inputted right here. You will also see that that information is now on the details page, and that works vice versa. So if you're on the details page and you find it easier to input your information here, just click on edit, type in everything here, plug in all your information here, blah, blah, blah. Once you save it, if it's on a document, it will then transfer over. So that's how easy it is to get these documents and have a lot of this information filled out. And it makes sure that you don't miss any documents as well. So again, that's one of the benefits of this workflow. I know I sound like a broken record all the time. I sound like a broken record saying that I sound like a broken record, but really I stress this because it makes your life so much easier when it comes to finding the paperwork, get everything calculated, and then also adding these documents back into Command once all the paperwork has been signed. So let me just show you something really quickly. I'm going to put something in an envelope. I'm going to tag it to myself to sign. So let me just grab this and this. I'm clicking on these little check boxes. And then I'm going to click on the pen icon to go to create envelope. Now, for those of you who are maybe newer with DocuSign and you're still learning the DocuSign platform, of course, I'm always here for help with that as well. But this is another tip that if you don't already know, I really want you to remember this because again, it's going to be a game changer. When we're in our envelope details page, we're essentially prepping our paperwork to be sent for signatures. You don't really need to worry about the envelope name, nor do you need to worry about the message at the bottom. We're just going to focus on these two pieces here. So this is where we make sure we have all of the documents in the envelope. If we realize we missed one, we can click on Room Docs, and it will allow us to bring in any of the selected documents. Or if we realize we don't need one, we just click on that little X button. Now here's really where the magic happens. For those of you who don't know, whenever you add a recipient in and you're using a templated form through DocuSign, you always want to use pre-tag roles. And again, broken record, you've heard me say this before, you've heard me say it a million times. But what this does is this allows us to match up the roles, the people in our room, with where they will be signing on the form. Now, as you know, I've had myself as a buyer's agent, but I can still assign myself as the buyer one. So even though your person is noted in your room as a role, whether it's buyer, seller, agent, etc., you can still assign that contact to a different role. So if you're in a situation where you have 3 sellers or 3 buyers or renters, you can kind of work around the system. But I digress. For right now, I'm just saying that I'm buyer 1, and I'm going to click on Add Selected. Now, I'm going to click on Room Participants and show you the difference. So let's say I did want to send an email to, or send this to myself for signatures. I'm going to Add Select. So now we see that I have the 2 different options. This is with a pre-tag role. As we can see, it says buyer 1. And this is just by simply adding a room participant. And here's where you'll notice the difference by having that pre-tag role. Because I'm doing it this way, it will automatically place all of the signature fields where they are supposed to go. So I'm going to kick this one out. And that's why, above all else, we always want to try to use pre-tag roles. Now, when I go to Next, I'm going to review all of the documents that are in my envelope to make sure that they look good. Always recommend doing this. Like I said, things normally work. Sometimes little blips happen. I've had a couple people say they've gotten to an envelope and they put a document in and everything was erased. It happens few and far between now, but always scroll through all the documents just to make sure everything is here, everything is tagged properly, and all of your information stays as well. We can also schedule send envelopes. So if you wanted to send it for the next day, if you're going to be away from your computer, you have that ability. But here I am, I'm looking at my affiliated business. And as I scroll down and I go to page 3, we see that the buyer, signature, and date fields are plopped for us automatically. And that is because of the pre-tag role option. Same thing with the CIS. Buyer, signature, and date has plopped for us automatically. If you have multiple people in your room, everyone will have a different color, so you'll know what signatures are where. But again, you know, if I had that whole 18-page contract of sale, I don't have to worry about manually dragging and dropping every signature and initial where it needs to go, because the pre-tag rules takes care of all that for us. So now I have all my documents, they hypothetically look good. I'm going to send this for signatures. I'm going to end up back in my DocuSign. Since I sent this to myself, I can now click right in because it needs my signature. So if you ever do send out documents and you know, you're signing them along with everyone else, you can go right into your envelope and sign them right after you send it. So I'm going to click on sign. And I promise there is a reason why I am doing this. Okay, I'm going to click on start, sign here, sign there, beautiful, finish. Once this loads, we're going to see that the envelope has been completed. So we see green completed. And if we go back to the document section, we now see that there's a duplicate. So we still have our templated form available, and now we have a PDF signed version of it as well. This way, in case there's a mistake, the deal falls through, you need to put in a new address, you still have that form template that you can make any corrections to and get that re-signed. You'll also notice that a certification comes up that's just to authenticate all the signatures. You really don't need to worry about it.
So question.
Sure.
Let's say you did this, right? Submitted an offer, etc. Didn't go through, blah, blah. Now you're getting ready to submit another offer. You have to create one for each property. You go in there and edit the existing documents with the new address.
So excellent question, just in case anyone who wasn't able to hear. Edith was asking if you create the contract to submit the offer and the deal falls through, would you then need to start everything over, or can you go back into your existing opportunity and DocuSign room? And you absolutely can do that. That's the beauty of the form templates being available to you, is that you're always going to have that form that's at least somewhat pre-filled in. So if you're working with obviously the same buyers, all of their information will be the same, and maybe you then just need to swap out property addresses and a little bit of additional information. But you can absolutely keep the room. One thing that everyone can do as well, you can actually, let me just make sure I'm doing this correctly, add a folder. So let's go off this example. 123 Main Street, we put in an offer, it fell through, fine. 123 Main Street offer. Okay. Maybe this was, July 22. I'm going to create this. So now I have a folder here. Let's see, can I actually drag documents? I can. So I can drag and drop some documents here. So I can drag all of my signed documents and put them in this particular folder. That way I can hide them and they're sort of out of view. And I can start again and create those copies without them getting mixed up with the others. Same thing, I'm just going to put this back here really quickly. And you can create as many folders as you like. So if you, hopefully you don't, but if you do have a lot of offers that don't go through, you can still keep track of them and mark them off here. You can also add custom folders here. So if you wanted to keep track of anything within Command, you can do that as well. So you can make it private if you wanted to, so no one else can see it. Or, again, you can see 23 Main Street, July of 22. You can write, no deal, whatever you want. But you can then create that folder and come here and add any documents as well. So this can be for any documents for properties that fell through, or any additional documents that you want to keep track of. If you want to include, I don't know, credit reports or whatever else in your command, it's a great way because this is where all your documents will be housed. So you can use this as a way to store any of those additional pieces of paperwork. Now, now that I have, have some documents signed, the final part of the full document circle would be adding all the signed paperwork back into our command. Normally, if you are, used to virtually any other platform where you have to download things off of one website and then re-upload them on another one, you know that you're downloading multiple files, saving them on your computer, trying not to get them in a zip folder, manually renaming them, and then individually uploading them. This connection eliminates all of that hassle. We see right here that I have the ability to attach the forms from DocuSign, or I can also do it from my computer. We have the choice. But because I use that Start a Transaction button, I can select DocuSign, and then I can actually select the folder. So by default, everyone will have one folder that says Room Docs. You will always have to come here and click on Room Docs, even if you have no other folders. I don't know why. It bugs me too, but it's just one little thing we have to get used to. Once I select the proper folder, I can then come here, select my drop-down menu, and only the signed PDF versions of the documents will show up in this menu. So I can match up the document with the appropriate line item. So this is my CIS. I'm going to find my CIS. Boom, it's attached. I can click on it to preview it. But there we go. That was my signature. There's the property address I plugged in right there. So you see, I didn't have to do anything outside of the norm. I just went to the appropriate item. Again, notice how I switched folders. I still have to come up here and again select Room Docs. Like I said, it's a pain, but we get through it. And then here's where we can begin to upload more. Now you'll notice I already uploaded the CIS in the other file. So now the CIS is not an option for me. The system is very smart. It's not going to let you upload the same document into two different spots. You'll see once one document is added, it says open. And once you have all of these documents signed and uploaded, you want to click on this Submit to MC button. That submits all the paperwork to the Market Center as well as our compliance checker. She makes sure everything is compliant, and that's when you'll get either an approval or a rejection notice right here and any other instructions. Now, we do have the 3 different checklists, and we really encourage you to upload the documents and submit them to the Market Center as the deal progresses. This way, you have ample time to get anything fixed if there might be something missing, or if a signature was missed or something like that. You'll have time to get that issue rectified. You don't want to wait until the deal closes and then you submit all of your paperwork. And then 3 days later, our compliance person says, you're missing the signature on the wire fraud form or on the CIS form. You don't want to then go back to your client after the deal has closed and say, hey, I need you to sign the wire fraud form. You just want to avoid that altogether. So by uploading and submitting each of these checklists as you finish them, it will help to resolve any issues without issue. And it can also help you get paid faster, because then the Market Center knows that we're expecting a deal to come in with you, and we have an idea of when it's closing. It'll help our numbers project better, so it's a true win-win for everyone. The only other thing that you'll have to do when you have a deal is put in your commission information. I have some shorter videos that are already created that walk you through it. So when I send out this recording, I'll include those videos as well. As I've said before, as I always say, I keep saying broken record. It's ridiculous, but I'm always here to help if you guys have any questions. if you need any help at all. There's no such thing as a silly question or a stupid question. I've been dealing with the system for almost 2 years now, so I know it like the back of my hand. I don't expect any of you to know the system as well as someone who works for KW. I want you to be able to confidently go through this workflow, get all your paperwork, and get everything done. Absolutely. But if you have any questions, if you get tripped up, I'm always here to help. That being said, are there any questions about this workflow that we went through, or perhaps about Command in general? Can you feel free to pop it in the chat, or unmute yourself. If you don't have anything, that's quite all right. I think you all have my contact information. Just hold on. Well, if no one has any additional questions, you know where to find me at any point in time. I'm always happy to help. Remember, memorize this workflow. Memorize the workflow. It's 5 steps. It's super easy. Steps 3 and 4 are a click of a button. I'll be including this as well, so you guys can always remember this. But anything else that you need, I am here to help. Thank you all so much for tuning in on this rainy Monday. I hope the rest of the week is a little bit more enjoyable for everyone. Weather-wise, it's going to be hot, but at least it won't be raining. We have a lot of great things coming up the rest of the week. We have our team rally and happy hour on Thursday. I really hope you can all make it. The happy hour is going to be from 4 to 6. Open bar, and then the team rally is going to be here at 12, both in Zoom and on Zoom and in person. We're keeping it to an hour to make it a little bit better for you guys. So anything you all need from me, you let me know, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.